Stop. All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Monday afternoon. Another edition of Knicks Weekly presented by Aura. Go to aura.com/KnicksFanTV for a 14 free trial on their online identity theft protection services. On this episode, we're going to talk about some big free agency news and Knicks trade news. This is according to Hoops Hype. Michael Scotto, our guys Ian Begley and Stephen Bondi of the New York Post got together on a podcast and gave their thoughts on what direction the Knicks may go in during the free agency and off-season period. So we're going to get to that and much, much more, man. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it, man. Another edition of Knicks Weekly, episode 101, man. Episode 101. Salute to everybody in the chat. I see my franchise channel members in the building, man. Shout out to Lee Bloxham, Johnny Angel 187. Salute. TM, salute. John Talento in here. I see the UK's in here heavy. Jake Millard. Lee Bloxham, I see is in here. My guy Pavlo. So the UK's in here heavy. Our friends from across the pond always in here with us. And that's why I kind of like to do these shows in the afternoon. So it's a good balance for our guys on the grind out here on the East Coast and the West Coast. If you're on the grind right now, if you're at work, leave a hashtag grind in the chat. And then our friends from across the pond can also tap in during their later evening hours. So that's all good. Hope everybody had a good Father's Day weekend. I certainly did. I had a great time with my son, with my family as well. So definitely had a nice weekend. Hit the beach, went for a bike ride, hooped it up a little bit. It's nice, man. It's a good time in the off season to kick back, relax, be where your feet are, and enjoy the fruits of your labor, if you will, man. So hopefully you guys had a good time with your father, your uncles, your father figure, whoever it is in your life that is special to you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. All right? What else did we do this weekend? Caught up a couple things. WWE caught up on Clash at the Castle. So the Gervonta Davis fight. Shout out to Tank. He was certainly back. Laid my man out with the one-hitter quitter. So Tank is back. Didn't catch up on Game of Thrones just yet. So no spoilers, House of the Dragon fans. I didn't get there just yet. But we will, man. So either way, let's get to these this free agency talk here because it's coming close. You know, the draft is coming up on the 26th. June 26th and 27th, and then you're right into free agency, man, June 30th, and then into July 1st, which is when you can expect to hear a lot of announcements. And so, as I said, our guys, Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, Ian Begley, and Stephen Bondi got on a podcast to talk about some of the Knicks free agency direction and potential scenarios here. And let's start it off with OG Anunoby. Because OG Anunoby will be due for a contract. You can expect him to opt out of his player option. And let's take a look at what that number is right now. The player option for OG Anunoby right now is at $19.9 million. And based on the exchange here, Michael Scotto says, based on the per the executives that he's spoken to, OG Anunoby's contract floor is at about $35 million, guys. $35 million. A lot of the names we heard about who could be potential competition here for OG is obviously the Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia is going to have about $55 million in cap space to spend, potentially $65 if they renounce some of the rights of their current free agents. And Philadelphia is going to be looking for wing help. Maxey needs help, and Embiid needs help. I think, you know, those guys certainly should be or will be and should be in the market for a third guy who can really help out. You just don't know with Embiid how his, how his durability, how he's going to hold up over the course of an NBA season and into the playoffs. And I thought Philadelphia's biggest need, especially when they played us, was just having a reliable third option there to help those guys compete. So could Philly, could Morey make a big play here? Now we know on Philadelphia's radar is certainly Paul George. You saw some open fraternizing and flirting there between Paul George and Joel Embiid during Game 4's coverage of the NBA Finals. I thought that was a little weird to see them there together. Maybe that's a leverage play by Paul George to get the Clippers to ante up, and maybe some leverage from Joel Embiid to put the spotlight on Daryl Morey to go ahead and make a trade to get Paul George in there, or maybe just to sign him outright to get him to Philadelphia. So Paul George is on their radar. There's news that Brandon Ingram is on the trading block with New Orleans. David Griffin looks like he's ready to start tinkering with that roster because I think they're at a certain ceiling with Ingram's. He's a good player, but not a reliable player. Zion, you know he's going to be up and down with injuries and motor and all of that. And I think the CJ trade has just about run its course. So New Orleans could be looking to peel that back a little bit, starting with Brandon Ingram. So could Brandon Ingram be going to the Sixers? That's left to be seen. But overall, these guys feel that, at least two of the guys, Piscotto and Ian, think that OG Anunoby is most likely to come back to the Knicks, and I think so as well. I think OG will come back. I don't think the Knicks would have done that trade in trading RJ and Quick if they didn't have some sort of assurance that OG Anunoby was going to sign with the New York Knicks. Now, the thought that most of us had, and that, you know, OG's agent is Leon Rose's son, Fred Katz, our guy Fred Katz of The Athletic, did correct that and say that he's not his primary agent, but he is part of that group that represents OG Anunoby. What impact does that have on negotiations or Leon Rose? We don't know. Who knows? But I think he will be back. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know your thoughts on that. Now, these guys also talked about potentially having a injury stipulation, or Ian Begley, rather. Feels like the Knicks will look to add in some injury incentives clauses into OG's contract to kind of protect themselves from the risk of him missing games, and also to have some incentives for him to potentially shoot for where he can get more money. And what type of incentives? This was also asked, I think a few callers over the course of this past season was asking about whether or not the Knicks would implement some sort of injury clauses or incentives into the contract, and what would those look like? Well, you have games played incentives. Meet a certain number of games, you get a bonus. Minutes played, total number of minutes on the court, you can get a bonus. Some teams like the Miami Heat have health milestones. We all know Pat Riley is notorious for having that body fat clause, right? You got to come into camp in peak physical condition. I don't think that would necessarily be the case with OG, but certainly a possibility. Playoff participation. How many playoff games do you play? If you reach a certain amount, you get X amount of dollars. If you make all NBA, if you make an all-star team, all defense, I'm sure certainly those would be in OG Anunoby's radar as well. And then you have some team-specific bonuses. So you could have some clauses there in OG Anunoby's new deal that would help protect the Knicks, as well as give him some things to shoot for. Now, Building Blocks in the chat says OG ain't going for that. Well, we'll see. We shall see. I'm just saying those are some of the possibilities. We need OG back. Nick Giorgio, we need OG back. It's a must. Yeah, he's a must. And that 35 number isn't surprising. I thought his deal was going to start in the 30s. We talked to Bobby Marks. We talked to Fred Katz, who felt like mid-30s is probably going to be that area, that target area. So, that'll be OG's look there, and we'll see if he indeed opts out of that contract and then ultimately rees up with the Knicks at a much higher number, man. At a much higher number. And, Bondi also thought that could Morey or maybe even OKC drive up the price where, it could make the Knicks want to pony up that 35 or more. We'll have to see what happens there. Now, on the topic of iHeart, Isaiah Hartenstein. Speaking of Father's Day, Isaiah Hartenstein just had his baby, new addition to his family a couple weeks ago, I think. So congrats to iHeart. Now, according to Scotto, he feels that iHeart will get the full 4-year, $72 million deal from the Knicks. Remember, that is the most that the Knicks can offer Isaiah Hartenstein based on the fact that they only have his early bird rights. And so there are other teams out there who could acquire him for a little bit more. We talked about OKC being a threat. That was my primary threat. You've seen more reports out there. Stephen Bondi reporting that OKC will have legitimate interest in re-signing Isaiah Hartenstein. Michael Scotto also reported that Orlando could have some interest there in getting him. And there could be some other teams. So I think the biggest question with iHeart is how much will the difference in money, the extra salary, factor into his decision? He's been on record, this is according to Ian Begley, and we've seen in the video when he was with the Clippers, he was ready to stay for less. He was ready to stay in LA for less. He was on record in saying if the money was equal, he would want to stay with the Knicks. So let's say he goes out there and he gets an offer for 20, even 25 from another team. Would the difference in that, say $5 to $7 or $4 to $7 million, would that be a deal breaker for iHeart? We know he's got chemistry with his team. He loves Mitch. He got the center connection. Big time chemistry with this team. I think if and when he re-signs with the Knicks, that's your de facto, that's your starting center right there. He came into this team 2 years ago and even last year, this past season, as a backup center. iHeart gets his new deal. I think they're putting Mitch on the bench. What do you guys think about that? Leave me a comment. Especially if he's going to be making more. And I think he's proven over the course of this season especially that he's not only more durable, he's more versatile. He gives the Knicks a lot more than what Mitch can give them. And Mitch does give them a lot when he's healthy. It's not to knock on Mitch. But I think we've seen through this entire body of work that iHeart just gives the Knicks a little bit more. They'd get dominated in the Philly series against Embiid. I mean, how many guys are going to hold their own against Embiid? It is what it is. You're going to have matchups that are just not favorable for you. But by and large, the iHeart's been great for the Knicks on both ends of the floor. They can't afford to lose him. If they want to continue to contend, they can't afford to lose him. He's a must. Improved as a rebounder, as a defender. His passing ability to keep the offense going. He had some really shining moments, really big moments and shining moments this season for the Knicks. They can't afford to lose him. What is a backup plan if the Knicks lose iHeart? It ain't that great. Number one, the free agent market is not that strong. Free agent market is not that strong. After iHeart, your best option as a free agent center is Jonas Valanciunas. Valanciunas is 32 years old. Numbers have taken a bit of a step back. Doesn't offer you the offensive versatility that an iHeart does, just in terms of what he can do out there in the court. Does still rebound. He's still going to be a big presence, be able to rebound for you, is a bit more durable. But look, I mean, the options are not that great. And if you're going to lose iHeart and keep Mitch, the person that you bring in, I just like the dynamic in terms of what they can give the team. Two different styles, two different fighters. So, is Valanciunas an option? You're just going to go roll with Mitch and Valanciunas? How about Kevon Looney? That's an intriguing one that we've been hearing. Golden State, Kevon Looney could be a potential cap casualty in Golden State as they try to get their books in order. Mike Dunleavy Jr. has a lot of work to do. Is Kevon Looney a guy, good rebounder? He's going to give you some rebounding. He's going to give you some hustle. He's tough. Do they get Kevon Looney on a mid-level or a little bit less? You have Goga Bitadze from Orlando. He's going to be a free agent, 24 years old. Another guy, another solid defender, solid rebounder. Had some bright spots for the Knicks as a member of the Magic and also from the Pacers. For those of us that watch game by game, Bitadze has definitely made his presence felt against the Knicks a couple times last year and the year before that. Do you go Clint Capella? Capella's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't necessarily see that. You trade for Capella, you don't really have much contract flexibility. He's got 1 more year left on his deal. So I don't really see that. Or you go Andre Drummond, you bring Drummond home. What do you guys think? Vincent Fazio, Kevon in there. Junior Caroma says agreed. Vincent Fazio says Kevon is dirt. I mean, listen, you're not getting Will Chamberlain in here. You got to be realistic about your options. So, D Nice, Bikaze's not a bad option. Not a bad option. 24 years old. And look, is it the end of the world if you lose iHeart? No, you still have Mitch as your starting center. Maybe you go out there, you get Bikaze. You have a little bit depth there. Maybe they go into a draft and get somebody. It's not the end of the world. I just like what iHeart has given this team. Especially on the offensive end. Much more fluid situation than what Mitch can give them. More sure-handed, can make plays, can play make. The teardrop, the floater was on the money this year. iHeart was good for the Knicks this year. So that would be a tough play to lose any way you stretch it. So, you talk about the fact that the Knicks can give him 4 years at 72. And we also talked about with Fred Katz, with Bobby Marks, is there a team out there who needs to get to their salary floor who would offer him a more of a balloon deal, less years, more salary, a la the Pacers giving Bruce Brown the 2 years, 25 last year? You remember, similar situation with the bird rights. Denver couldn't afford to pay Bruce Brown more than a certain amount. So it was obvious that he was leaving even before that season had wrapped up. Last season had wrapped up. Because Bruce Brown had earned the raise. So now for iHeart, would he take the security with more years, a little less money? Or does he go for the bag? Remember, this is a guy who hasn't made more than, this year was $9 million, but before that he was like 1.5. Does he go for the bag? I think he stays. That's my prediction. Lord Steven Stone, franchise channel member, says 6 months. Let's go. Lord Steven Stone, thanks for your support. Eric L. Beach, franchise channel member for 16 months. Shout out to Keith Paris on the grind. Shout out to him. Salute to my Facebook fam. Ty Clemens says iHeart is a Knicks for life. Gail Russell in the Facebook chat says iHeart should start for his offense. Yeah, that's what I think. I think iHeart will. I think he will be back. He will have competition for sure, but I think iHeart will be back. And then I talked about the backup plans. Looney, if he gets clipped, Valanciunas will be a free agent, but it's a slim. The market is slim pickings. Maybe Valanciunas is off the board early. They have some trade candidates. Is a Capella. Bitaze free agent, so, there it is. We'll have to see what happens there. On the Thibs contract extension, we also talked about it on this show. I think it's going to be closer to, what I say, about 11 on the last show? Scotto, Bondi, and Begley think it'll be around 3 years, $33 million. The talk is that Thibs is looking for market value. As we know, they did just sign Mo Cheeks to the staff. So the Thibs thing is just a matter of when and not if. I think you'll get an announcement on that fairly soon. Dylan Libby in the Facebook chat says CP free throws needs to start. I like that. On the Brunson and Randle potential extension, there is some thought here amongst these three that Jalen Brunson could sign his deal early with the thought that, hey, maybe you take some extra money now and then go back into free agency in the future, a couple years down the road, and then go get an even bigger bag. So take a little now rather than just waiting to opt out after next season and then going to get the bag. We've seen a number of NBA players do that even last year. Anthony Davis, Giannis. So could Jalen Brunson potentially do the same here? Julius Randle, doesn't seem like Randle and the Knicks will come to an extension, but hey, anything could change. We'll have to wait and see there. Like I talked about with Bobby Marks, I think the Knicks will play it out into free agency with Julius. Does Julius get traded? I don't necessarily see it. I definitely don't see it. I think there's an outside shot that Julius gets traded. But again, anything is possible. Salute to Will Hooper in the chat. Crystal DeVore, how you feeling? Knicks Fan TV. Jalen just joined the franchise channel member. Salute, man. Salute to you guys. Stop Console War says, appreciate the merch. CP just got it on Friday. Quality, quality, quality. Salute, man. This is what we do at Knicks Fan TV, man. Quality in everything that we do. So go ahead and get your merch, man. Shop.KnicksFanTV.com, and we will take care of you. If you guys want to call in while you guys are on the lunch break, call us up, 657-383-1509, or you can hit us up on the KFTV Discord. I see a couple callers out there on the Discord. We're going to get to the calls at the end of today's show, just in a couple more minutes, so just hang tight. And we are going to get there. Also, NBA Finals Game 5 post-game show tonight on the NBA Report. Make sure you guys tap into that. We do have a busy week. We got Finals post-game tonight. Tuesday, our NBA Draft Q&A Part 2 is going to be Tuesday. Our guy Chris LeBron is going to be heading that one up. Call in with Chris. He's going to give you his top 10 choices for the Knicks, and also it's going to be an interactive show, so make sure you guys call in. Chris is another guy who covers college basketball scene from beginning to end, very knowledgeable on the college basketball front, so make sure you have your questions for Chris, because we will be taking calls all night. Wednesday, I'll be on Bleacher Report. I'll get more into the trades and talk about some top trade candidates for the Knicks and how they can continue to look to upgrade that roster. And then Thursday, Big Show Thursday, Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert is coming on the show to talk about his book, A Mic for All Seasons, man. I've been looking forward to this interview with Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert is going to be coming through to the show, and we're going to get into his book, man. Make sure you guys pick up his book, A Mic for All Seasons. All right, what's next up on the docket here? Salute to everybody in the chat. Monday grind, we back to it. Start the week off. Okay, Bojan Bogdanovic. Bojan Bogdanovic has a partial contract guarantee where the Knicks have to make that decision by, I believe the date is, let me just double check. I believe the date is June 29th. It's June 29th. Or is it before the draft? Let me just double check that. So to everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Just doing some quick research. I'll get right to you. All right. So Bogdanovic's guarantee, let's go ahead and load that up. The 28th. June 28th is when the Knicks need to guarantee Bojan Bogdanovic's contract. And then he will be due for $19 million this season. So I think the Knicks will play it out in two ways. Number one, you want that contract to maintain your financial flexibility to make a trade if you need to. Because without Bogdanovic, you're pretty much out of options here in terms of salaries. I mean, after that, it's either Julius or the Nova 2, because Jalen's not going anywhere. It's Julius, Josh, or Dante who's making the money, or Mitch. You want to put Mitch out there, you know. So you want that Bogdanovic contract for flexibility, or to even keep him on the rotation. I think he finished out the year pretty well. Now, he's another guy who you can pencil in for missing time and injury time. But he's a guy who can help. I thought he got into a groove and got a little bit more comfortable as the season wore on and into the playoffs. I thought he did well for them, and unfortunately he got hurt. So that's Bojan on the $19 million. I think they will keep it, guarantee it, and then we'll see, because that is going to be a contract you're going to need to make a trade. We're going to talk more about the trade candidates on Wednesday. But if the Knicks believe that there's a guy out there that they can make a splash for, you're going to need to use that contract or part of, or at least in part of a trade. So I think he comes back. Backpack Val, $10 super chat says, shouts to UCP. I don't know if you remember, like a couple days ago, we had a friendly back and forth about the Knicks and whether or not they could beat the Celtics in full strength. Great discourse. Yeah, man. That's why we're here. That is why we are here, man. We got to talk about it. You know. And shout out to my guy, Jake Asman. I was on the Jake Asman show, 98.7 ESPN Radio in New York yesterday talking about it. Could the Knicks beat the Celtics? We had a good exchange, man. I had a good conversation on Twitter with Knicks Twitter. So we'll talk about that some more as well. So that's Bojan. I'm trying to read here. Was there anything else in the Bojan stuff that these guys touched on that we didn't? Bondi says made that trade decision with the You as Stephen Bondi says, you made the trade mid-season to maintain the financial flexibility. So losing him or just letting him walk doesn't really make sense to me. Anything's possible, but it really doesn't make sense to me because you're down another potential trade piece. Now, in this, and they made a podcast out of this too, so make sure you guys check it out. I'm just giving you kind of the cliff notes and my reaction to it. In this one, Michael Scotto feels like in terms of trade candidates that the Donovan Mitchell ship has sailed. A lot of guys have said that. Ian Begley's been on this show feeling like the Knicks won't be as motivated to go get Spider as they were a couple years ago. Things have changed. Brunson has emerged as a superstar, and you got to have us bring in a special talent that's going to take the ball out of Brunson's hands. And so it seems like Spider, who is due for a max contract with the Cavs, could be staying. I thought there was no way in hell he's going to be at that dump, but seems like he could be staying. And the Karl Anthony Towns stuff. People continue to try to put Towns on the Knicks. Why? Is there anybody in the chat right now that wants to see Karl Anthony Towns on the Knicks with Julius Randle? Please come forward. Come forward and don't be shy here. I just don't think that makes sense for the Knicks, man. I look at Towns as a small-time player. I think he would melt here. Yes, offensively, he may give you a little something. We saw in the playoffs, meltdown after meltdown after meltdown. I mean, we're still trying to get Julius back on track, and I think he is. But you're going to get Towns in here. It just doesn't make sense for me. From a contract standpoint and an impact standpoint, I just don't see it. But the overall consensus here is that, a Towns trade is not imminent, but maybe it becomes more likely into the next trade deadline or the offseason or the next offseason. But also, Minnesota's got ownership issues. They got to get themselves figured out. Who's even making the call there on a Towns trade? They got A-Rod out there as the face of it. But are they actually going to make a move? I'm not really in on the Towns thing. I'll be completely honest with you guys, man. I'm not too enthused about Towns. What do you guys think in the chat? Ty Clemens says, heck no to Towns. Heck no to Towns. No, sir. You got 700 people on the check-in, man. If you guys are new in the chat, leave me a hashtag new. I'll shout you guys out. Also want to talk about today's sponsor as well, man, because if you guys remember last week on Weekly, I told you guys about a little incident that I went through and that I was going to share that story with you. So I am going to share that story with you. And it also has a lot to do with today's sponsor as well. So it all kind of ties in together, man. So we will get to that. All right, what else do they have here? They also talked about, that was Towns, Precious. Our guy Precious, we talked about Precious this season. A big contributor in this rotation, especially in February, once Julius Randle went down and Precious Achiuwa started to get into a groove. Started to really fill a void, a role here with this Knicks team. Probably his best stretch of his career, of his young career, 25 years old. The sentiment among Scotto, Bondi, and Begley is similar to what I have here, is that, I don't think Precious is going to be a priority until they figure out where they are with iHeart, Mitch, and so on. I think Precious will be a later in the offseason priority if he doesn't get snatched up by another team. Escato says, according to people around the league, They think it might be a little tough for the Knicks, given their roster construction and future payroll concerns, to keep him, even though he's a restricted free agent. If the Knicks think Hartenstein is leaving, maybe the thought of Precious leaving the Knicks isn't as certain as possible. So, yeah, similar to what I've been saying on the Precious front. On the draft, Ryan Dunn is the name that you continue to hear being linked to the Knicks. According to our draft experts, best perimeter defender in the draft. Knicks have the 24th and 25th pick. We had Corey Tulaba of No Ceilings Podcast on here, talked about his shooting issue. I think that's a little bit of an issue for me. We're trying to get away from the construction business and get some legit shooters in here. We're starting to get that. So I don't know if, hey, listen, anything could change, certainly can improve. But that was a turn off for me. What do you guys think in the chat? I had someone who I think either went to Virginia or covered the team, watched the team, felt like the kid wasn't being used properly in that system. Someone who's more versed in the college style or what Virginia is doing. If anybody agrees or disagrees, leave it in the chat. Some people felt like they weren't using him right and that he'll do better in NBA spacing. So what do you guys think? Then the trio of writers had a little bit of disagreement in terms of what approach the Knicks will take in the draft. Will they keep all three picks? They have the 24th, the 25th, and a second-round pick as well. Will they keep all three picks? Will they trade one? Will they use two and trade up? I think they will potentially try to trade up, depending on if they see a target. Or try to trade one back, punt for future years, and see if they get back into a draft where there are more worthwhile candidates. I think you have to continue to keep your flexibility in the draft, especially when you think about the second apron and where things are going, because drafting role players where you can get significant value in their rookie years, I think it'll be more valued as you look to round out your roster. You know, veteran contracts, getting value out of veteran contracts and rookie deals have never been more important than they will be going forward as teams try to navigate the salary cap and CBA rules. So what do you guys think in the chat, man? We load up some people in the chat. Is this Zay? Hang on. Is this Zay from Ellen? Z on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic. Zay. I see Zay from Maryland on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
You hear me? You hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. How you feeling, sir?
Good, my guy. How are you?
Good, man. Long time, man. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, definitely. I still try to tune in on the replay. I was off today. Took an extra day off after Father's Day.
Nice. Deserve it, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, I got time to tune in, give you a call live, and just give my opinion on the state of the Knicks. So, for me, man, I've always been steady on slow incremental changes. Don't do anything too big. Don't go big game hunting. And let the chips fall where they may. And I think this is last year was a perfect example of that. Pretty much the results of that, right? So yeah. I'm still in the same boat. Incremental changes, nothing. I want to run it back. I want to keep the same guys. Maybe add, like I said, add somebody cheap, a cheap veteran in the off season, a point guard. I seen a few people say CP3.
Yeah.
I may do it if it's super cheap, but CP3 is still, he's looking for the bag every time. So I'm not doing that. If we can find a young point guard a point guard with a few years in the league for cheap, sure. I think that's the only piece we're missing is just a ball handler off the bench. And if we can find that in free agency, we don't need to necessarily leverage all of our pieces to try to trade for any big game player, because I don't think there's any available. You know what I'm saying? Joel Embiid is staying. You know what I'm saying? Paul George maybe, but how much is that going to cost? Paul George wanted the bag when we were trying to trade for him last year. I don't think that's going to change. So, are you willing to pay for Paul George? Keep the players you got, man. Just get them healthy. Get them ready. And I think one big thing that we kind of are low, not really thinking about is the chemistry. Chemistry is real big. And when you continuously add new pieces in, it's always an adjustment period. I think that's what happened with Bogey last year at the beginning.
Yeah.
At first he was kind of off the bench, really just coming in and not doing much.
Oh. Maybe lose Zay? All right. I think we might have lost him. Zay, appreciate the call, though, man. Always appreciate it. That's Zay from Maryland, a KFTV day one for sure. And look, I'm with him. I think the Knicks will be, they will keep their ears open as they always have. But I don't really see the move yet. We never do, right? We never really see the move that's just like obvious and available for them in the offseason or at the trade deadline. And then they just go ahead and make something happen. But it doesn't seem like a lot of the candidates there's a lot of legit candidates out there as of right now. KD, the Phoenix guys, Booker, KD, James Jones has said you can count that out. They're not trading any of those guys. And I don't think they would, at least right now. First piece always gets scapegoated when you make a big move to alter your roster is the coach. Oh, the coaches is the coaches that, right? Then once they go forward and figure out, all right, well, this is truly not going to work because in Phoenix's case, I don't think that it will, even though it's still early. Then they'll start to maybe trade all pieces. KD is 35 at the end of the day. KD is 35. But with new ownership, there's no way that guy is going to, retreat and break that team apart when he just bought the team and he's trying to make some money. There's no way. He's gonna keep trying to figure out what it is, and maybe Budenholzer makes them a little bit better. Hopefully it starts on the defensive end, and then they got to figure out the point guard situation. It's all muddy in Phoenix. But to Zay's point, in speaking on free agents, point guard is definitely at the top of the list for me. Point guard is definitely at the top of the list. And you have the mid-level exception, potentially, at around $12.5 million. Tyus Jones is a guy who I like. I like Tyus Jones. And, a guy who can play make for you. He can run the second unit. Yes, he's a little bit small, but you could put Deuce on the off-ball guard position. And you have Tyus Jones running that second unit for you. I think that would be a good pickup. Also, I still like Monte Morris, man. I saw Monte Morris is on that list. He was badly injured this year. Basically, you can't even look at his stats this year because he didn't come back until literally the last couple weeks of the season. But at full health, he's a guy who can shoot the three. He's tough. He's gritty. He can defend. He can play make a little bit for you. He's a scrapper. I think Monte Morris fits this Knicks team perfectly. Again, not splashy names. We're talking about the mid-level exception. So we gotta put that into perspective. You gotta put that in perspective. If we're talking about, let's say, worst case scenario here, maybe not necessarily worst case for you, but let's say in one scenario where there's no big name out there, then you're looking at the draft, the mid-level, and vet minimums to fill out the roster. Yeah, CP3, I think the CP3 ship has sailed. The thought about CP3, even when he left the Thunder and ultimately made it to the Suns, was that he wanted to stay on the West Coast. His family's out there on the West Coast. He wants to stay out there on the West Coast. So I don't see him coming back this way. Maybe he goes to the Lakers, go back to the Clippers or something if he doesn't make it with Golden State. Sacramento or something. I don't know. I don't see CP3 coming east. Marvin Smith, trade for Caruso. I'd do that in a heartbeat. Go get Clay? Go get Clay with the mid-level? Clay's kind of washed. I don't know, man. You take Clay out of his pond, so to speak. What does he have left? Khaled Pasha says his team's going to be mid next year. There's no way you can even say that. I don't know why you would even say that. I mean, that's your opinion, but there's no way. Shout out to Dylan Chop Charles. Appreciate you, man. He says, how do you feel about Clay? Clay's all right, Maybe Orlando offers him a little bit more or another team. They say Clay's going to test the market. I don't know, man. Clay, he's washed. He's all mopey and emotional. I need a dog. We need dogs, man. Give me a guy who's hungry right now, man. Clay's just all defeated. And, look, he's done his days, man. But he had a debilitating ACL, a debilitating Achilles injury. Won championships already. He's done, man. He's done. He's just moping around. He wants to be on his boat. I don't see Clay. I don't see Clay as an option. He looks done. Yeah, I agree with you guys. He looks pretty done. But I think Tyus would be an option. I like Monte Morris. Koro sends a super chat, $10 super chat. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. It's like K-O-R and then some symbols. Says, what are they going to do with Sims? Dude is a walking brick wall, just needs to get his confidence up. I mean, Sims is a third-string center right now. I don't think there's any reason to worry about that. He's a third-string center. You know? So, look, you hope that Sims improves his game. I'm a big Sims guy. Just personally, I think he's a good kid. But hopefully he improves his game. He's working with our guy, David Zenon. They've been working together for a couple of years now, working on his offensive bag. But ideally, with him being like the third string guy, I'm not really worried about Sims. Sims is an afterthought for right now. He's not even going to play if everybody's healthy. So, you know, I don't really see the big deal about Sims. I'm not worried about him. John Pettit in the chat says, why these guys want the older guys at this point, guys like Clay, CP3? They're just names. You're right. You're just names. They're definitely just names. Let me get to the phones. I got some people on the chat want to talk to us. 917, what's your name? Where you calling in from?
It's Mike from Queens.
Mike from Queens. How you feeling, fam?
I'm all right. I got a couple things, right?
Yep. Come closer to the phone. If you're on speakerphone, take it off. Come closer to the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
All right. No, I was saying, so we might hit the second apron, so this is the time to make a trade right now. And I feel like there's no players that fit this roster that's available or will be available. And I know Mikal Bridges is a name they keep throwing out there, and I think that would be the best move, but it don't seem like that would be possible. But if it was, I wouldn't give Randle up. I'll give as many picks as they want, though. They can have them all to him. And if that doesn't work, I think DeAnthony Melton or Caruso you have to get.
Yeah.
Because for the backup point guard, you need a combo guard because you want him to play some of behind Ragu and Jalen Brunson. So if you get a backup point guard, how many minutes is Brunson going to be on the bench? 15 minutes a game? You can't have a guy come in and just play 15 minutes, so you're going to need a combo guard.
Okay. Appreciate the call, man. I think there's no shot at Mikal Bridges. I put it out there on Twitter the other day, and you've been hearing me say it on this show. Knicks and Nets have not traded since the 80s. Crosstown rivals don't trade. Giants, Jets don't trade. Yankees, Mets barely trade. You don't trade with your crosstown rival, especially when one is just dominating the headlines and dominating the city. This city has one basketball team. Nobody cares about the Nets. But they're not going to get Mikal Bridges, man. Caruso is a different story. I would love to get Caruso in here. Caruso's perfect for this team. But there's no chance. And then you're saying you wouldn't trade Randle. There's no chance. We're not getting Mikal Bridges here, man. I don't see it. Anything's possible. I just don't see it. 518, what's your name? Where you calling in from?
This is D from Schenectady, upstate New York.
Upstate New York. How you feeling, bro?
I'm doing well. I watch your show all the time, and from my end, I'm real proud of you, man. And I
appreciate
see
it.
Nothing but good things for you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yes, I've been a Knicks fan for well over 50 years, and I've seen the ups and I've seen the downs. But in my opinion, I think they should just run it back because if anybody was really watching, the Knicks were title contenders with what they had. I mean, if not for the injuries, I was always wondering whether they was going to go far. Second question, I hear that people talk about the all-time Knick players and it's Brunson the best, and he's a beautiful story, and I'm excited watching him. But they really, really don't talk about Bernard King. Now, Dominique Wilkins, as well as the great Julius Erving, once said that that King was the only player that they feared. And if not for the injuries, and if they would have had time to get him and Patrick together and develop Patrick like they did, I think that they would have won. I mean, just look, how many people can drop 40 with not only fractured hands, but slings on those hands?
Yeah.
And I challenge anybody to say that's more incredible than even the Jordan flu game. I doubt that he would have been able to play with two things on his fingers and still able to dominate games like he did.
Yeah.
But let me let you go. I appreciate your talk and keep doing big things for us.
Appreciate you, man. Definitely appreciate the call, man. OG checking in from Schenectady, upstate New York. And he's a Bernard guy through and through, man. Salute to the king, Bernard King. Legendary player for the Knicks. Let's get these highlights up, man. This was the 1984 duel, Bernard King and Isaiah. Let's talk about it. You know, the only thing that doomed Bernard was the injuries and the longevity with the Knicks. So that's why guys like you, fortunately, the OGs who got to see him play, can represent him in the way that you do, which is fantastic. We got to do like a Bernard appreciation show. Hopefully we can get him on the show. I'd love to get Bernard on the show. But if not, we should do a round table. Chuck got to be in it and have some of our OGs, maybe Greg Armstrong. He was a big, my guy Greg Armstrong, he was a big Bernard King guy. Maybe just have a round table and just let them cook. You know, unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen Bernard in his prime. Unfortunately, I didn't. But I would love to have fans really just go in on the player that he was. And yeah, you say NBA players and his peers would tell you he cooked. It's incredible player. Just didn't have the longevity. And yeah, you know, the Ewing Bernard is probably one of the biggest what ifs in Knicks history. Knicks have a ton of them. What if they would have got Dr. J? What if they would have got Kareem? What if they would have got Wilt? What if they would have got LeBron, if you even want to put that in there? What if they would have got Jordan? But, you know, hey, what if they had the big two form between Bernard, a healthy Bernard and a Ewing? But do the Knicks even get a Ewing if Bernard's healthy? So it's just one of those things, man. Just one of those things. Yeah. My 2 cents in the chat says, CP, you need to get Hubie back on KFTV while you still can. Man, it's 90 with stories. Yeah, I would love to, man. I would love to. Hubie Brown is one of my favorite analysts. They need to put Hubie on the NBA Finals coverage because I don't know what they're doing with that. That's a separate story. Respect to Breen. You heard Jeff Van Gundy come out on Mark Jackson's show, and we're going to do that recap as well. Jeff was down and out after being fired from ESPN. I think the NBA Finals announced team, the NBA Finals coverage on ESPN is pretty terrible. But Breen is great. Julius is going to be on tonight, Game 5. Julius Randle is going to be on tonight on their pregame show. Well, I don't know if he's going to be on the whole show pregame or what. But Julius will be on if you guys want to tap into that. 561, what's your name? Where you calling in from?
CP, what's up? It's Darren from Florida, courtesy of Brooklyn.
Yo, what's good, man? How you feeling?
What's going on? I'm chilling, man. Hey, I just wanted to chime in a little bit. Mid-level exception, I agree. We need a backup point guard. I like Tyus Jones' idea. Mm-hmm. Draft picks. I know they ain't going to get playing time, but I think Dunn and Ware are definitely worth picking and developing.
Okay.
And
what do you say? Not to cut you off. What do you say on with the Dunn people saying he can't shoot, man? They're saying he's in the construction business. What do you say?
But here's the thing, CP. His defense is elite.
Okay.
Look at Herb Jones when he came in, right? I think that's something maybe you can develop.
Okay.
But that 6'8" defense, elite defense, I think that's worth having around.
Yeah.
You know, and then you hope that you can develop the shot. He's going to be pick 24, 25, so you're shooting a dart, but I think it's worth the shot. You know, you can't teach defense.
Sure.
As far as the trade, CP, I think Ingram, I know people don't like him, he's soft, but 6'8", the man's a bucket getter. I think he's worth a shot. You know, it depends what you got to give up. Same thing with DeJounte Murray. I think he's someone that's worth a shot.
Yeah.
And here's the last controversial take, CP, I got.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody hate Cat. I get it. He's soft. There's no denying the man is skilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like with him, if he was on our team, is he offers more defensive versatility than Julius Randle. He was covering Jokic, and I'm not saying he was locking him up, but he gives us a little more defensive versatility. I'm not saying I'm sold on making a deal.
Okay.
But the man is skilled, ain't no question. Now, if the money was the same, would everybody be up in arms over this? If the money was a little similar. I know he's got a big contract, but we could maybe trade that down the line. We talk about he's soft, I get that. But we got to remember, when Julius Randle is not getting his way, pouting and everything, bad teammate, when we saw what we saw with him, that's kind of soft to me too. So I'm not saying I don't listen, I like Julius, but everyone just so opposed to Cat, and I get it. I get the reason why, but there's no denying the man is skilled.
Yeah.
And another trade target, yeah. I wouldn't mind Caruso and maybe Wendell Carter from the Magic.
Okay, appreciate the call, man. Call back anytime. My guy checking in from Florida. I mean, yeah, listen, Towns is talented. There's no denying his talent offensively. But is that the trade that you want to make with the contract? I just look at Towns as a small-time player, man. I have a hard time seeing that. Defensive versatility, I don't see it, man. Guy was melting in the playoffs. I'll just pass. And yes, Julius still has a lot to prove. I agree on that. But I would prefer Julius right now. I would. He also talked about DeJounte Murray. I think that's a move that the Knicks should explore. Talk about an innings eater. Can he run the bench unit? Now, yeah, is he going to want to come in and start? Most likely. And the sample size with him and Trey didn't work out. Would it be different with him and Brunson? I'm very much intrigued by that move. Wasn't as much last year, but I'm more so this year, just based on, like you said, or like the previous caller said, where the Knicks are right now. They're close. They're knocking on the door. I think you do need to take a chance on some more talent. Yeah, fit might not be ideal, but hey, that's why we paying Thibs the big bucks to figure it out, and all these guys. Who else did he talk about? Caruso, yeah, for sure. Caruso, definitely. And on the Ryan Dunn topic, he says, hey, take a chance. These things can change. You can't teach defense. I agree. Well, the one thing I agree with, and why, I would not necessarily be totally averse to Ryan Dunn, is because we need wing depth. As you saw when OG went down, the Knicks were exposed. They did not have enough wing depth. You need more wings. Get some more wings in here. So I wouldn't mind a young defensive scrapper. But I just say, can he just be a little bit average or better than average shooter? That would be ideal. That would definitely be ideal. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Like, share, subscribe. CP the Franchise here. Hope everybody is having a fantastic Monday. I certainly am. Once again, if you guys are new in the chat, leave me a hashtag new and I will shout you guys out. Let me get to this story real quick about what happened to me last week. I left you guys a little cliffhanger last week. I believe it was Thursday or so. Let me get to this story of what happened to me last week. And basically, I was the victim of identity theft. I was the victim of identity theft last week. And it was a situation where, in the cybersecurity industry, we call them threat actors. I used to be a cybersecurity specialist in my previous life. And it was a situation where these people, these threat actors, had basically attempted to compromise my financial accounts and almost got away with it. Luckily, based on some of the tools that I have deployed just to protect my own information, and understanding the motivation of these threat actors, I was able to stop it in its track. Took me basically 24 hours to do so, but I was able to thwart the attack before major damage could have been incurred. But it was a little bit of a setback that day. Had to do a lot of running around and troubleshooting and fixing to get back to square one. But the reason I'm bringing that up to you guys today is because it can happen to any of us. And like I said, for me, coming from that industry, yeah, you have some knowledge and you understand what's happening, but Anybody can get got. It could happen to you. It could happen to your peoples, especially the elderly, because these are the people who these people like to prey on a lot to get information, and also because the elderly are more susceptible to fraud and impersonations and things of that nature. So I almost got caught. So for you people at home, couple things you should be doing to protect yourself, protect your information. Number one, any type of passwords that you're using for your financial accounts, for your email, make sure you change it. I know a lot of you at home probably haven't changed your password in 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Make sure you change your passwords out there. Use strong passwords. Don't make your password. I know some of you out there will probably watch it like, yeah, my password is password 1, 2, 3. Make sure you change it and make strong passwords. Long phrases that are not easily guessable, use symbols and all of that. Also, two-factor authentication. Make sure you put two-factor authentication on your email, your social media accounts, your financial accounts. Very, very important to do so. And just be careful when you're reading emails, when you're getting phone calls. Make sure you're screening things properly. You're reading emails properly, who it's from, what the links are. When people are calling you, like, think twice. Does this make sense? Would Macy's really be calling me and asking me to call them back with an important message? You know, just be careful and screen everything. You have to be diligent these days. And so on the heels of that happening to me, I implemented some more tools that would help me in the future to make sure that my information is protected. And that is with my friends at Aura, who's also sponsoring today's video. Aura specializes in online digital safety tools. And the reason I'm going with Aura is because they have an all-in-one platform that will help you with identity theft protection, financial fraud protection, checking on your financial accounts, as well as online device protection like antivirus, so on and so forth. Use our link in the video description or go to aura.com/KnicksFanTV and sign up for a 14-day free trial. It's free to use and you get access to their entire suite of products. And like I said, the reason I use it is because it has everything all in one, so you don't have to go back and forth and check in different things to make sure that you are on point. If you've seen Aura before, most of you have seen it because they actually sponsored the Minnesota Timberwolves. We just talked about the Timberwolves. Aura, if you see the Aura name on the Timberwolves jersey patch, this is the same company. So go out there and try it. Use our link in the video description or go to aura.com/KnicksFanTV. Just to give you a little sample of what you'll get in the trial. I use the individual trial. And just to give you a little sample, the trial comes with the online and device security. You get antivirus, VPN, so that you could browse securely, password managers as well. They have identity theft protection, monitoring your personal information. Look, your personal information is everywhere on the internet. Social security, name, address, date of birth, it's all out there. Spam and junk email removal. Home and title monitoring, very important. And criminal records monitoring. And then also what I like is that they will monitor your credit. They'll put a credit lock on there. That's another critical security step. Put a credit lock on your credit. If you don't think that you're going to be opening up credit cards or applying for loans, put a lock on your credit so that nobody can create or open up credit cards in your name. They have bank fraud monitoring, financial transaction monitoring, and monthly credit score checks. So they have it all, and it's all in one platform. So again, you don't have to use different tools, different things like that to monitor your online presence, your identity, and all of that. Very, very important. So like I said, man, they almost got me. Luckily, because of the knowledge that I have in the industry, I literally spent last Thursday at the same time locking down all of my stuff. They were in my accounts trying to get stuff, trying to get me. So it was literally a race against time to shut everything down. And luckily, I was able to do so. So like I said, man, go to aura.com/KnicksFanTV or use the link in the description to sign up for the 14-day free trial. You could cancel at any time, but try it out and check it out because like I'm telling you, you too can get got in this thing, man. So you got to be careful out there. All right, so that is my soapbox, and shout out to our sponsor of the day, and that is Aura. 856, what's your name? Where you calling in from? 856.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
CP.
How are you, man?
Do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. First, I want to say salute. Great job. I see your growth. I've been following the channel for a while now, but I see your growth. You're doing big things, and I wish you all the best. I wish you more success. I do want to talk to you about this apron situation that the Knicks are in, because the way I'm looking at it, a lot of people are talking about, big names, and I don't know if we'll be able to afford it. When Bobby Marks, came onto your show talking about how if you extend OG and Hartenstein, you're already in the apron. So,
and bringing back Bogdanovic.
Right, and bringing back Bogdanovic. Right. So this is a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you, which is, what do you think is the biggest priority when it comes to this situation? Is it moving Bogdanovic, or is it moving Mitchell Robinson, or even both, just to make some space to have more flexibility in re-signing OG, re-signing Hartenstein, and possibly bringing a role player?
Yeah.
So that's all I want to ask you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the call and the support. Yeah, it would be moving that Bogdanovic contract, and if you have to move Mitch, if you're going to keep Hartenstein and you have to move Mitch, then those would be the two moves that you're going to have to make to bring in a role player, and hopefully you're getting an upgrade there, because after that, it's going to be pretty difficult to make that move. So that's why the financial flexibility that you get with the Hartenstein contract, with the Bogdanovic contract, you want to ideally keep him so that you can ultimately use that if you're going to make a trade. Like, let's say they're going to make a trade for DeJounte Murray. Let's just say. You're going to want that $19 million. You're going to want to use that 19 mil. So it's going to get a little bit tricky here, man, as they move closer.
But now I have another question for you, CP. As far as the Bogdanovic contract, I mean, we know that he's injury prone. Realistically, in a trade between, let's say the Knicks and the Hawks for, DeJounte Murray, okay, the salaries may work, but like, what else do you see us giving up, in order to get a DeJounte Murray on the team?
Probably like 3 picks, 2-3 picks. Based on a
and you think
lot
that they do that?
Would the Knicks be so pressed? Again, the motivation may change based on this window kind of closing in terms of when you have the most flexibility to make another move. Like, maybe there was a report out there, I believe it was Fred Katz, who said that the two teams did talk during the trade deadline, but nothing came close. So they were talking, but it seems like the Hawks wanted more than what the Knicks were willing to give up. My question is, are they more motivated now to make that move, given where they are looking at now in terms of re-signing OG, re-signing iHeart, getting Brunson his bag, and then ultimately making a decision on Julius? Maybe that changes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't want to be left holding the bag here. We guarantee Bojan Bogdanovic, but then we don't have a team to move him to.
Sure.
So that's the other sort of risky part of it. But that was all. Thank you so much, CP, for answering my question.
Call in anytime, man.
Keep doing your thing.
Appreciate the call, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you guys are tapping in, man. Shout out to all my franchise channel members in the chat. If you are in here, leave me a custom emoji, man. Leave me a custom emoji in the chat. We'll shout you guys out. To the Discord we go. Dark Horse, what's going on? Dark Horse.
Hey, CP, can you hear me?
Yep. How you doing, man? Happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday. Hey, I want to talk some Knicks, but I had a question about Aura. Does that come with a VPN too?
Yeah, so the individual, you'll get the VPN as well, man. So you'll get access to the full suite for the 14-day free trial.
Okay, so it does come with the VPN. All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm about to sign up. And then for the Knicks, so I've been going back and forth. I actually think it might, in a weird way, make more sense to kind of just run it back with what we got, because and IQ's actually was my favorite player, but we had like a major trade like halfway through the season, so we don't really know what this team looks like with like a full off-season program. And they had that one, and then the injuries obviously, but we had that run with Randle, OG, and Brunson fully healthy, and we were on fire. So Yeah, I think kind of running it back and maybe doing like a tweak trade in the season makes more sense because we have really good books, really good picks. We're very flexible, and I believe in the direction we're going.
Yeah, I think, with the running back stuff, I intend to see 80% of this roster back. Your core is going to be back. It'll be Brunson. I don't see a big Randle trade coming. I think they bring OG back. We'll see. I still think he'll be there. DiVincenzo, Hart, like all these guys are going to be back. So you're talking about, do they make one big upgrade or do they just use the mid-level, get the backup point guard, use the draft picks, get something else, use the vet minimum, get something else? Like, it'll be that. But I think your core is still going to be intact. So they'll be back.
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is, like, if they did a major trade, like, even if they keep Randle, like, I don't want to get rid of DiVincenzo.
Nah. Those guys aren't going nowhere right now. Nah.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. But even Bogdanovic, like Bogi was playing like really well during the playoffs.
Yeah,
one of those stretch. So I think even he's a contributor.
Yeah, I agree, man. Appreciate the call, my G.
Hey, appreciate you.
All right. Let's dark horse on the check-in. NBA Finals, Game 5, post-game show. Join us on the NBA Report tonight after the game. Will the Mavs make it interesting, or will Boston be raising banner number 18, man? Morris on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Que lo que.
What's good? Who's this?
Maurice from Brooklyn.
Let's go.
First-time caller.
This guy, we're talking about the cybersecurity stuff. You kind of impersonated my guy Dan from New Jersey, but I outed you quickly, man. I knew you weren't him.
That's a Dominican thing.
I know.
Que lo que means what's up. So,
I know, man.
Listen,
yeah.
I got a trade. If not, then I think we should run it back. We should bring Bogey back,
okay,
and just sign a point guard so come off the bench. So Robinson, couple of picks, and Bogey for his name blew off my mind right now. From the Clippers.
Kawhi Leonard?
No. He's a free agent. Oh my God.
Paul George?
Paul George, exactly. So,
okay.
Paul George, couple of picks. We leave the far starter the way it is. Then just put the big Ragu on the bench, and that's it. I think if we do that, we don't need nothing else. We'll be good. Everything will be fine. The way we were playing on January, it would be even better if we bring Paul George into the rotation. If not, if that doesn't come through, then sign everybody back, run it back, and in the middle of the season, we could get something for Boggy. That's it.
Okay. Appreciate the call, man. Have a good day, man. I'm going to get back to this lunch, man. Out your boy. Maurice on the Discord. All right. Shout out to him. That trade's not going to happen. I don't see Paul George in the Knicks' future. I don't think it's a move that the Knicks would make. An injury-prone, older Paul George, then have to give him the bag and the sign and trade. And not for that. You're not getting him for that. You're not getting him for that. Of course not. Especially with Mitch at 15 and Bojan at 19. That's 35. You got to think Paul George wants at least in the 40s, 40-something. But, either way, man. It's not even worth talking about. They're not going to get Paul George for that. I think Paul George and CP3, all these, I think he'll be staying west. Probably with the Clippers. Or maybe he goes to Philly. I don't know. Maybe he goes to Philly. Joey Stiletto TV says, Oregon, I'm scared. Well, man, Maurice, you got a couple of tomatoes in the chat, man. Call back anytime. The chat was not really feeling that trade proposal. Respect Shaq said, hang up. Call back anytime. That just wasn't it. Garcon Victor in the Facebook chat. Salute, man. Salute. All right, let me see who else we got here on the phones. 917. What's your name? Where you calling in from? Besides, this guy's out to lunch. He's got all kind of commotion. 917.
Hello?
Yes, loud and clear. Now I can.
Oh. Sorry about that, CP. I was putting on my AirPods. But listen.
Yes.
I have this theory about something that the Knicks can do when it comes to the upcoming draft.
Let's talk about it.
People are really sure that the Knicks are not going to use all picks to pick any players because, Thibs doesn't like to pick young players or whatever the case may be. But one theory I have is that they can draft 3 players with those 3 picks that they have, create a young core that some other team could worry about developing, and use Mitch and, unfortunately, McBride to try to trade for somebody if somebody is available, because at the end of the day, you can't trade for nobody that is not available, okay? However, the whole running back crew, they don't seem to understand that if you run it back and you bring back everybody, at the end of the day, you're going to be a second apron team, and it's going to be even more difficult to make a trade for that disgruntled superstar that might come up or whatever the case may be. So I am not trying to run it back and be in the second apron for Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I need somebody else who's a lot more worth it than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I get it. We went on a good run in January and all that stuff. We faced some, title contending teams, but we also faced some teams that were not all that. You know what I mean? So let's not overrate that run that we went on, because at the end of the day, any team can get hot in the NBA. That's just the way the NBA works.
Yeah, true story.
So for the running back people, you guys got to understand that if the Knicks bring everybody back, including picking up Bojan's option, the fact is we're going to be a second apron team, and it's going to be for who? For Bojan Bogdanovic, a guy who, I don't know, in Detroit, he was making every shot, hitting every three.
Yeah, he's old
whatever
now.
the case may be. Yeah, but then he gets to New York, and all of a sudden, he forgets how to shoot. He doesn't, I don't know, man. Sometimes he was just borderline unplayable, if you ask me.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Appreciate the call, man.
Yeah.
Call back anytime. Yeah, I think they're going to use that Bogdanovic contract and really try to make a trade. Yes, worst come to worst, you can keep him. But like my man said, would it be ideal to have him in here and then, be a second apron team? Not ideal. Do they keep all 3 draft picks? Anything is possible. I think they're going to, because they're still going to have the mid-level, they're still going to have some exceptions to be able to use vet minimums. Thibs wants more vets than kids. Even though if you can get a ready plug-and-play kid in the draft, he could get a couple minutes here and there in the rotation, back end of the rotation. So we'll see. Knicks have always tried to package up, in drafts where they have multiple picks, try to package things up, move up, or maybe move back, kick the tire, punt for a couple of years. I think it could be that situation, especially if they're not feeling the overall crop of this draft. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on the 26th and 27th of this month. It's coming up in 10 days. And like I said, we'll have our second edition of our NBA Draft Q&A tomorrow with my guy, Chris LeBron. Chris, outstanding in his draft coverage. Make sure you guys tap into that and come armed with questions. My guy, Chris LeBron, will be ready for you. 347, close us out today, man, on this lunchtime Monday edition of Knicks Weekly. How you feeling?
Oh, what's good, CP? Hello, Kev. My name is Eric, by the way.
Salute, man. Just speak a little closer in the phone.
Good. Sure, good. I was just calling because, it's my first time calling, but a long-time fan.
Sure.
I was just calling because my thing is I like Mitch, but the durability factor is the thing that gets to me, and I personally prefer iHeart over Mitch just because of the durability. Plus, we're still getting the rebounds, and we're getting better shots with him. That's like my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree, man. The injury history is definitely a concern. And it's just like it's almost automatic now that you can pretty much expect Mitch to miss time. And Mitch, if you're watching, you're my guy, man. We always got to preface that because Mitch, he takes the business side of basketball. He doesn't take it as well, and as he shouldn't. It's hard to hear your name come up in trade talks and hear fans want to trade you and stuff like that. But it's just the reality of the business. Everybody's not going to be along for the ride. And the Knicks are at a point where the way iHeart is playing and the way Mitch is going with the injuries and the investment that they made, it's hard. You can't keep both long term. It wouldn't make sense to keep both long term. You know, it would not make sense to keep both long term. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. Now, if iHeart dips, then you're probably gonna have to keep Mitch, and then maybe bring Precious back to ensure your continuity. Mitch gives you the rim protection, gives you the defense, of course, and the rebounding for sure. But it's another risk. Salute to Eddie LeBron. #grind. Salute to you, man. Salute to you. So anyway, that's pretty much it there. Okay, I see my guy Seku in the Discord. We'll wrap up with him. I rock with Seku. That's my guy. Seku on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic when you get a chance. Then I really got to eat lunch. I'm starving. Seku, are you there?
Yo, CP.
How you feeling?
God is good, man. Happy to be here,
Absolutely,
man.
all the time.
I'm listening to your take, man, and I was actually just about to call in on there about the Mitchie over Ahart, and I gotta respectfully disagree with you.
Okay.
I think people forgetting what Mitchie was doing before he got hurt, and I understand your point. I definitely 100%. Mitchie is definitely injury prone. But when he was healthy, playing for us, he was leading the league in offensive rebounds. He was probably the top rim protector in the league. A great lob threat between him and Brunson. So I think we need to kind of remember that. And if we get rid of Ahart, I'm thinking that Precious or even Sims might be ready, man, to be as a backup. Don't get me wrong, Sims as a backup, and Precious can hold it down. So what's your thoughts on that, man? I'm feeling Mitchie should definitely be the priority over Ahart. Let me know what you think.
I just can't see it, man, because playoffs is an endurance test. And what he was doing at that time when healthy is not who he was in April and May. He didn't get there. And all it takes for Mitch is land on somebody's foot, up out of there weak. Sprained ankle. This time it was more structural damage in his ankle. He broke a foot. It's just how he's built. So at this point, it's like, yeah, at potential, he's great. And when he's on, he's on. But at this point, when we see how much of a grind, how much it takes to get to the playoffs, we heard Jalen Brunson on the Taylor Rooks interview talk about when the playoffs hits, everybody is injured. Everybody is hurt. So the thing is, it's like, are we going to could we really rely on him to get through games 82 and beyond? We haven't seen it yet. Haven't seen it yet. Right? What happened in the Hawks series? What would we say if a healthy Mitch? Right? Now, last year, he was there. This year, not so much. I don't know.
You don't think if Mitchell goes down between a third-year Sims and a resurge, Precious could hold it down as a backup?
Yeah, Precious will be fine. He's going to get overpowered in certain matchups. I think he's better off defending fours. Sims, I don't think Sims is ready. I think Sims is really break glass in case of emergency. It's not to say that Mitch is expendable, but at this point, when you're looking at your cap and the consideration and the restrictions here, when you're building your team, you have to be cognizant of how much you're going to put on assets on certain players, because the Knicks do have needs elsewhere. You got what I'm saying?
CP, man. Thanks for taking my call, my brother.
Appreciate
Definitely,
the call.
Man. See your point. Peace, brother.
Appreciate the call. And so the thing with Mitch is like, again, it's just, will he be there for you? Yes, people will say yes, he played well against Philly. He did. He did play well. He plays well when he's on the court. It's not that he can't play. It has nothing to do with his performance and production. It's, will he be there for you in the big spot when you need him to down the stretch? We haven't seen it so far consistently. And maybe, is he better suited to come off the bench at this point? Because how many minutes are you really going to play him? There's something to think about, man. Clovon's in the chat. I don't think we beat the 76 in 6 games without Mitch, even if he did not play. Again, it's not about production. It's zero to do with production. You have to figure out when you're getting closer to that second apron, you have to figure out who is necessity and who may need to be utilized to help us shore up some other weaknesses. Everybody can't come along for the ride. That's all I'm saying. I rock with Mitch heavy. I would love to see him be here. And maybe he is if iHeart leaves. But when you're considering this new CBA in the second apron, you're going to have casualties, man. That's just how it's going to work out. That's just how it's going to play out. You're going to have casualties. So there it is, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Once again, NBA Finals coverage tonight after Game 5. Go ahead and tap in on the NBA report. Tomorrow, we got Chris LeBron on the NBA Draft Q&A. Wednesday, we'll be back on Bleacher Report. We're going to talk about our top trade candidates. And then Thursday, Kenny Albert. Kenny Albert coming through to talk about his book, Mike for All Seasons, man. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Share this video. Like, share, subscribe. Remember that this show's available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. We're available on all audio podcast formats. Make sure you guys tap into that. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Remember to support our sponsors as well, man. Click the link below. Sign up for Aura's 14-day free trial. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.